Hi everyone, it's Vicky here and it's time for another art journal layout. Before I start, I always like to glue two pages together. This helps the pages become heavier and also to prevent the curving of the pages when you put tons of mediums on top. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just gluing two pages and by using gel medium. And I let that aside to dry. Now I've chosen 3 pattern papers from an old paper collection by my mind's eye, and they look like Polaroids, faded Polaroids. I'm going to cut them all in little squares. I like this pattern paper because it's very natural. Here's the pattern paper and how it looks like. And this layout I'm doing today is great for using your pattern paper. So by using gel medium, I'm going to glue all the little pieces on top of my pages. I'm using gel medium at the top because it always helps to get a non-porous surface. I didn't use the whole pattern paper as it was, and I cut it down in little squares because this will help my page to get more dimensional, and also all these little edges that are going to be created are great for texture at the background. And so I just go ahead and glue things down, and always adding medium on top. And keep in mind that I glue them randomly. Nothing is side by side. Others are vertical or horizontal. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other page. And while doing that, just to let you know that if you like to see more of my art journal videos, just hit like on YouTube and also leave me a comment. I'm thinking of uploading an art journal video every week. What do you think? Now that everything is ready, I'm using my heat gun to dry everything out. Now that everything is dry, I'm using my scissors to cut out whatever sticks out. I like to keep my art journal as neat as possible. Now I'll be using distress paint to color my pages, and I'm using the orange and yellow shades, and in the center I've used mustard seed. This is a wet baby wipe. On the edges I'm using wild honey. What I like about distress paints is that they are transparent and you can move them around before they dry and they blend perfectly. So by using a baby wipe you can have perfect results. I just love them. Now you can see how I blend wild honey with mustard seed, and now I'm using spiced marmalade, and I'm just going over the edges. I just want to create some depth and define more the edges of the little papers. And also what I love about distress paints is that once they are dry, they are permanent, so they will not react with water or any other mediums that you might add on top. And when I'm making art journals, my heat gun is my best friend. I'm too impatient to wait for everything to dry, so I always use my heat gun to hurry up the process. Now this is a vintage photo, just to define the edges. And you can also move distress paint with your finger. It works perfectly, especially if your finger is a bit wet, or you can just use a baby wipe to do that. For me, an art journal background is never complete until you define the edges with a darker color. Now I'm going to use Archival ink and stamp some coffee spills. This stamp set is by Stamping Bella and it's called Java Spills. I'm using Archival ink because it's permanent, and although I don't plan to do anything more on the background, but you never know, I might change my mind, and using permanent ink will make sure that no matter what I'll do later on the background, this will stay as is. Now, because of the background texture, this didn't stamp well, but you can also use your finger and move the ink around before it dries. And that's the big advantage of having a non-porous surface to work on. And this is the reason why I've used gel medium all over the background. Now, I was feeling that the edges on the background weren't standing as much as I wanted to, and that's why I'm going to use a Faber-Castell brush marker to define the edges. I'm using this brush marker because it's Indian ink and it dries permanently. But just because I'm working on a non-porous surface, I have a few seconds to work with the ink. So I'm just applying ink with the marker and then smudge it with my fingers. Because I've used distress paints on the surface, I can still see the pattern on the background paper. Not sure if you can see that, but you can check the photos at the end. Now I've chosen some pattern papers from this paper pad, and that's the same paper pad that I've chosen the background paper from. I am just drawing a cup of coffee and a cup of tea, and this is some basic drawing, not doing anything fancy here. And I'm going to cut it out using my scissors, and then I'll do the exact same process using different patterned papers. I'm going to use this cup that I'm cutting out now as a pattern for the next cups. And also I'm using my craft knife to cut out the inside of the handle. And here I have my cup ready to go. You can see where I'm going to place it. And now I'm going to do the same exact process for all the other patterned papers. Here are all the little cups that I've created. If you don't want to draw the cups and want to go for the exact same idea, then you might want to stamp a cup if you have a stamp like that, or maybe you can print them out using your printer and search for an image on the internet. Now I'm using my craft knife to cut a slit on top of each cup because I'm going to create a stack of cups and I want to place them one inside the other. Once all the slits are cut, I'm deciding on where I'm going to place everything. This is quite random. I just take care not to put two red cups together or two whites together. And now that I have decided where everything is going to be, I'm using gel medium to put everything in place. I'm using again gel medium at the bottom and also on the top of the cups, because I want to have again a non-porous surface. I'm going to use markers to create shadows on top, and I need the surface to be non-porous so I can move the ink around. Now I'm just cutting out strips of paper from the same pattern paper collection, and I'm adding details on the cups. As you can see, the cups don't blend in with the rest of the background. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. I'm adding details and also I'm going to add lots of shading to make everything blend in. Now I've added a red stripe on the white cap, and now I'm cutting white stripes to add them on the bottom cap. The stripes add a bit of detail, and you know how coffee cups have those stripes on top. I'm not going to do this exact same process for all the cups in the stack. I'm just doing it for a few. I'm also adding a thick strip of blue paper for that second cup in that stack. And I believe I'm done with details. So now let's go on to shading. I'll be using big brush Faber-Castell markers to do my shading. And again, I'm working on a non-porous surface, and that's why I have a few seconds to move the ink around. So I'm placing the ink on the edges of the cups and then moving it towards the center. I'll do the exact same process for all the cups on the stack using relevant markers. You'll see that as I progress adding shading on the cups, the cups stop being just glued paper on top of the background, but they begin to blend in with everything on the page. And as always, I'm crafting with the kids in the craft room, so you might see little hands pop in while I'm shading. I have my daughter just next to me and she always has her own opinion on what color I should put where. Of course, to help everything blend in better, you need to add a darker shade. Don't be afraid to add brown or black, because this is what will make a dramatic change on how everything blends in. As you can see here, I've used first the lighter colors, and now I'll go on with the brown marker and add shading here and there, and now you can see how everything blends in better. I will also add brown shading all around the cup of stacks on the outer edges, and this will help the stack blend in even more. I always keep a baby wipe close by, so if I make a mistake or if I find that the shadow that I add is too much, I can always wipe it off before it dries out. And finally, I'm using a thin black pen to go around all the cups, and I believe that after adding this detail, I'm pleased with the outcome, and I have the feeling that the stack of cups is blending. Using my scissors to cut out whatever sticks out, and I had an idea of making something cute for my page. I decided to create a couple of tea tags. So I'm just using some old scrap paper to cut out two little rectangles, and then I'll use my scissors to create small little tags. So here are my little tags now. I'll also use some distressing to distress the edges. And now that the tags are colored, I'll use my crocodile to just make a couple of holes. This is a heart punch. I made out a couple of hearts out of the red pattern paper I've used for the cups, and now by using my gel medium I'm going to glue the little hearts on top of the small tea tags that I've created. Now that my tags are finished, I can now use some thread, and I'm passing it through the hole, and I'll use some tape to secure it at the back of the little tags. The idea is to make these tea tags look like they are coming out of a couple of teacups. So I'm just going to create a hole using my paper piercer. So here you can see where I'm making the holes, a couple of holes just into random cups there, and then I'll pass the thread through the hole and secure it at the back using some tape again. I'll do that for both of the tags and secure this thread again. And since now they are secured, I can use my glossy accents and place them on top of the caps. I want them to have some movement, so I'm creating some curves there. And now it's time to add the words, and the quote for today is "Take life one cup at a time." So I'm using those black alphabet stickers by 7 Gypsies. And then I'm going to dress those 3 chipboard letters with one of the pattern papers from the same pattern collection that I've used throughout the page. Now I'm just using gel medium, and I'll stick them at the back of the pattern paper, and once this is dry I'll use my heat gun just to speed up the process. And now that everything is dry, I'm using my craft knife to cut out around the letters. This is not so difficult actually, you don't have to cut everything perfectly, just go all around once, and if you have imperfections, you can always use your files. Just like I'm doing here, this is a file set by Basic Ray, and I'm just using one of the smaller files to sand down whatever sticks out. Now all the letters are ready, and I'm using gel medium to stick them on the page. I also add gel medium at the top. For the same reason I do that throughout the page, just to make it non-porous. Yes, I'm going to use my markers later on to add some shading. I actually went back and added glossy accents at the back, just to make sure that those letters are not going anywhere. I think I've edited out this while I was doing video editing. Anyway, I'm also using gel medium on top of the black stickers there, because they don't stick very well and they might move. And now it's time to use my markers to shade the chipboard papers. I'm using a blue and a brown one. And finally, I'll just use my white gel pen and add some highlights on the caps. And that was the art journal for today. I hope you had fun as much as I did while making it. If you want to see more of my art journals regularly, just leave me a comment and also click like on YouTube. Thank you all for visiting.